Well, we're just done. They won. Cloud9 has won Spring Split, and Blaber, the MVP, is here to talk to me about it with coverage brought to you by Alienware. Blaber, I mean, what a crazy split for so many of the players on C9, but I definitely feel as though it must be pretty wild for you. I mean, a lot of people, I think, at the start of the split said, why is C9 letting Svenskeren go, and now they're replacing him with Blaber and blah, but here you are today standing as a victor at the end of the most dominant split that has ever existed in the LCS. So what has this whole experience been like for you?
This whole experience has honestly been pretty unreal. Like, I don't think, even though coming into the split, we all expected us to be really strong. Like, I think as players and as an org, we knew we were going to be stronger than what people thought we were going to be, just because we knew our own scrim results, right? And we had different like perceptions on how strong each player was. But I don't think any of us expected to have a 26-2 split, I think. So it was definitely a good feeling to win this finals.
Well, talking about expectations, did you ever have any expectations that you would come out of spring as the MVP?
That's definitely not something I thought about. It's more of coming into the split. I knew I had to have a strong performance, and I was trying really hard to make sure that I would play well to not let my team down. Coming off of like Svenskeren's summer MVP performance, so I really wanted to make sure that I was playing well this split too. I mean, obviously I didn't expect to get MVP, but it's nice.
Yeah. Well, okay. Obviously, it wasn't on stage with an arena, but that moment, or in an arena with all the sorts of fans around you, but that moment, it captured a little bit on camera. I don't know if you saw or knew, but we saw some of your staff come in and throw confetti at you guys as you all jumped around. So, how much of that, the essence of winning and having that moment, do you think was preserved as you're sitting in your house instead of on stage?
I mean, we knew that we were being recorded and that we would have to like when we were celebrating that they would see it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it definitely feels different. I don't think it takes being in a room doesn't take away anything from the feeling of actually winning the split and like feeling good about it. But obviously, there's no fans cheering for you, right? And they like usually after you win, the announcers are super loud. You can hear them in the stadium. So
Yeah.
there's not stuff like that to make it feel like I guess the situation feels more magnified if you winning. But I definitely think that winning itself, like it still feels amazing for sure.
Well, what did you think of FlyQuest in that series? Because I think a lot of people expected maybe a bit of a stomp, but maybe not. And especially, as the first game moved into the second half, it became pretty clear that you guys were just going to dominate the series, and we saw it in the next two games. So I don't know. Are you disappointed that there wasn't more of a fight put up, or were you just happy to have such a dominant finals?
I wouldn't say I was disappointed that they didn't put up that much of a fight. We knew, or we kind of thought that going into this finals, that as long as we played our game, that it should be pretty simple for us to take the whole thing. Um, I don't think we expected FlyQuest to be super strong, just because I mean, usually when we practice against them, it's pretty not it's not good for them.
Okay.
So yeah, they usually just I mean that's usually almost every team that we scrim these days, but I think we knew that if we just played our game, that we'd win this one for sure.
Well, I tweeted today that I'm under the understanding that MSI is not going to happen, unfortunately. But this was right after G2 had won, and I kind of just it's a little bit of a bummer that if you guys now just 3-0, G2 just 3-0'd, it's disappointing that that tournament won't happen. And a lot of EU fans replied and they said Fnatic with 3-0, Mad Lions with 3-0, Cloud9. Like the expectation that there'd just be no competition there. Do you feel as though there would be in a world where you guys were able to move on to MSI?
I think they would be very surprised by how well we do to compare to the other teams. I think it's honestly hard for us to judge and for others to judge, obviously, because I mean the last time I think like TSM went 17-1 and then they didn't really make it out of groups at like 2016 Worlds, I believe. So like I'm sure fans are like thinking about stuff like that. But I do think that for us, I think we definitely do well. against international competition, regardless if it's EU, LPL, or LCK, or like even the other regions. And I guess we're really sad that MSS is canceled because it would actually be really good practice for us since our practice in NA is just us stomping the other NA teams, and we can't really learn much from our practice. It's like, okay, we'll play Aatrox Ornn and Eric will win both sides. Oh, we'll play Aphelios anything and we'll win both sides, bot lane, So it's not actually like we're learning anything valuable, I think, besides like just what we think ourselves of the meta.
Yeah. Do you think that you'll start to see more competition in the summer if we see some of these rumored roster trades occur?
Um, I think, I mean, I guess it's hard to say. Like maybe we get worse or suddenly the team synergy get better, but I think we'll just have to see. And I think the teams would have to really, I guess, mesh well together because I don't think that we just have strong individual players. I think we play really well together as a team. And I think that if they just put 5 good players together, like TSM for example, right, then they might not perform well.
Yeah.
Regardless.
If you had the opportunity to go into summer and have the exact same thing happen as what we just saw in spring, right? Like you guys just stomp the league, it's dominant, you just 3-0 finals, or you still maybe win, but you have a lot more competition along the way, right? It's not so stompy and some of the other teams rise up. Which one would you rather have?
I think I'd rather have a closer split. I think we've had some issues this year where teams don't actually want to scrim us coming Friday before our Saturday match because they don't want their morale killed or they don't want their like draft. Like for example, if you get stomped 5-0, like you just rethink your entire draft, right? You're like, well, is our draft even good? Like they just keep punishing us. But that's not something teams really want to feel going into their match. And I think, yeah, having more competition is better as long as we don't get worse and they're improving, right? And we're able to improve with them.
So you guys have had Fridays where you guys can't get scrims. Do people cancel on you, or is it just you can't get anything scheduled?
Usually, I mean, we haven't like not had scrims on Friday, but it's like it's hard for us to get the teams we want to scrim, like the better teams, I'd say, because they're like, just, at least coming into the later part of the split, they're like kind of scared of scrimming us.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fun position to be in, even if it's a little bit annoying, I guess. Oh man, did you ever anticipate this happening in your career where you'd have such a strong situation occur?
For sure not this strong, I guess, where like some teams don't even really want to scrim you or like it's hard that way. But I've always thought that I've been pretty good, and I've always known that like if I play my best, I can be one of the best. So I've always expected myself to be on a top team, just because I do think I've been playing pretty well.
Yeah. I don't want to diminish any of the players that are on C9 at all, and so I mean this, I think, as a compliment to you guys, where you look at TL, who has won the last 4 splits, and that roster is a roster made up of former world championships and league MVP or world championships winners and league MVPs and all these big historic names. And then what's kind of interesting for me is that Cloud9 kind of represents a little bit of like new blood and new faces, right? I mean, obviously you've got like Sven and others, but Vulcan, who I think a lot of people didn't know too much about until he showed up on C9, yourself too, coming recently out of Academy. So what do you think it means that now we're seeing this lineup of relatively new faces win LCS in such dominating fashion?
Well, personally, I think C9 got pretty lucky picking up a lot of the like the rookie talent. I honestly don't think there's that much new talent, and I think 2 years ago when they picked up me, Eric, and Zazel, I think they picked up like the best rookies at the time or like upcoming talent, and I do think as an org, if you're like C9, TSM, TL, it is easier to pick up good rookies because obviously they want to join your team, right? And not, I don't know, a bottom tier team. So even if maybe you offer less money, they would still be more inclined to join your team because you'd have a good academy team or like good staff. But I do think maybe looking more into rookies or newer players is good because, I mean, at the end of the day, you can only import 2 players, right?
Yeah.
And every team is going to import 2 players if they're trying to win the championship. So the team with the best native talent is just going to end up winning.
Yeah. Do you feel, I kind of tweeted this thing about Sven where when Sven joined C9, he was kind of like a refugee coming from this terrible time he'd had on TSM where, TSM's dynasty had ended. Have you talked to him about that at all? Or, when he came in, I don't know if you have any context because it just feels like this must be a really big win for him too.
I haven't talked to him personally after we just won, right? I haven't talked
Well,
to
I
him.
just mean like even going through the split as you guys have been winning, and very clearly he's living a different life than he did for the past 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I always heard like stories about how Zen like on TSM wasn't the best teammate, or like when things get rough, it's like hard to work with him, blah blah blah. But like I've never really experienced that. I mean, I guess we don't lose, but
Yeah.
on this team, Sven's been a super good teammate, I'd say, and I mean, my bot lane's by far the best bot lane in the league, so they've been performing really well, and just overall, I think everyone, including Sven, just really wanted to win this split, and even though like we're playing at home, I think this meant a lot for us.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way to end the interview. Is there anything you want to say to any of the fans out there after this historic victory for Cloud9?
Thanks for sticking with C9 all these years, even though I think they've lost in the finals for the last like 5 or something.
Yeah.
So really appreciate it, and thanks everyone, and thanks for voting me for MVP.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thanks so much for the interview, Blaber. I really appreciate it. What are you going to do to celebrate? Last question.
Maybe play some Valorant.
Very good. Well, you can carry me. I've been told I'm very bad. Anyway,
Okay.
thanks so much for the interview. Everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. Hello. I just wanted to thank you for watching that video. This whole thing, by the way, is sponsored by Alienware. Yeah, this whole thing, like me and everything. The world that you know is sponsored. I'm just kidding, but that video definitely was. And you can check out more of their stuff over at alienware.com/Travis. There's a link in the video description, and it's a brand new page that they've developed specifically for my content. So if you've been over there before, you can check it out again. It's a little different. That would actually help me out a ton. We've got a discount code over there for you if you want to use it on acquiring any of their really cool stuff. I want people to see the new stuff that we've put up over there, because I think it's kind of cool that they made a dedicated page just for me. Either way, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.